Hello everybody and welcome into Next Weather. I'm meteorologist Hannah Fink, and today is a pretty big day in history, especially with the tropics for our area. Today is September 16th, and back in 2004 as well as 2020, two pretty impactful hurricanes have hit our area. We had Hurricane Ivan back in 2004 and then Hurricane Sally back in 2020. So I have a presentation to break down what came from those hurricanes, what information involved with them, as well as local impacts, and then damage photos sent in from you guys. So let's just get right into it. I have a presentation set up. Here we are. This is Ivan versus Sally, excuse me. These are two radar images comparing the two. As you can see, Ivan was made it to Category 5 status, hit as a Category 3 in our area, and then Sally was a slow moving Category 2 storm. And the important word there is slow moving, and we'll get into that in just a second. So Hurricane Ivan back in 2004, here is its track. We started observing this tropical disturbance as early as September 2nd. It made landfall on September 16th and continued its path until it was a post-tropical cyclone on September 23rd. And as you can see, at one point it did hit Category 5 status, and it was a Category 4 up until it made landfall in the early mornings of September 16th back in 2004. So it was a Category 4 for quite some time up until it approached our coastline. So Hurricane Ivan was one of the strongest hurricanes of 2004. And I will remind you, 2004 was a very, very busy hurricane season. There were numerous storms that have hit right before Ivan, which is part of the reason why it was so impactful. Not only was it a major hurricane, but the area was already suffering impacts from previous storms, such as being extremely saturated. So that did not help our flooding involved with Ivan. It reached Category 5 in the Caribbean and made landfalls as a major Category 3 storm. U.S. landfall was on September 16, 2004 near Gulf shores. It left behind devastation across the entire area. So its max sustained winds at landfall was 120 miles per hour. Storm surge was around 10 to 15 feet across coastal Alabama as well as the western Florida panhandle. It produced a record of 117 tornadoes across the southeast, and it made over $26 billion in U.S. damage. The local impacts to Alabama specifically and Baldwin County near the beaches, extensive wind damages to condos, homes, and hotels. Those were all severely damaged, and beaches were stripped of sand and dunes were destroyed. In Mobile Bay as well as the city of Mobile, storm surge pushed water 10 plus feet into the bay, flooding the entire downtown area. The Bankhead Tunnel and Causeway is flooded as well, and power was out for weeks for parts of Mobile and Baldwin counties. In Florida, in the Pensacola area, the I-10 bridge partially was destroyed by surge as well as waves. Pensacola Beach and Perdido Key, homes swept away and roads were washed away. In Escambia and Santa Rosa counties, thousands of structures were damaged or destroyed, communities isolated due to flooded and collapsed roadways, and further east towards the Destin and Fort Walton Beach area, surge flooding and beach erosion was a problem. So comparing these impacts across our entire area, storm surge and flooding was a big thing, widespread from Mobile Bay all the way through Pensacola Bay. Wind damage, trees were down, roofs were ripped apart, mobile homes were destroyed as well. Infrastructure collapse, roads, bridges, and power grids were crippled, and the recovery efforts, it took weeks to months before power, clean water, and overall normalcy returned after Hurricane Ivan. So the legacy of Ivan: over 50 in the U.S., 92 overall were killed during the storm. It changed building codes and infrastructure planning along the Gulf Coast, and it is a reminder that both wind and water bring destructive impacts. Mobile and Pensacola still reference Ivan as one of the worst storms in memory. So here are some damage photos we're going to go through. This is Dolphin Island. This is from NWS Mobile. You can see how the island is completely changed. Some homes are even in the water at this point. This is also NWS Mobile Gulf State Park Pier. You can see it is completely destroyed. This is Orange Beach, also from NWS Mobile. And then this is Orange Beach again, NWS Mobile. You can really see the damage and the impacts here from a closer look. And then this is Gulf Shores, Alabama before. This was taken back in December of 2001 by NASA. So let me just show you this for a second. And this is after September 2004, also taken by NASA. So here is the after of the storm. Here is the before. You can really see a difference here, especially in the infrastructure as well as the nature surrounding it. So Ivan was a very impactful storm. Then 16 years later, we had Hurricane Sally. Hurricane Sally was a very slow-moving and destructive storm in September of 2020. Made landfall on September 16th near the Gulf Shores area, and it was a Category 2 hurricane with 105-mile-per-hour winds at landfall. Heavy rainfall and flooding made Sally really stand out because of how slow-moving it was. It just continually dumped water on the area, and we had those long-lasting destructive winds. So, overview of it, it crawled at just 2 to 3 miles per hour, prolonging impacts. Winds were around 105 miles per hour at landfall. Storm surge of 4 to 7 feet across Alabama and the Florida Panhandle, and rainfall, because it was so prolonged and how slow it moved, widespread of 20 to 30 inches of rain were dumped, in some areas even higher. So in Baldwin County near the Gulf Shores and Orange Beach area, homes, condos, and businesses suffered roof and structural damage. Marinas and boats destroyed or badly damaged. Beach erosion and loss of protective dunes were also an impact. In Mobile County, surge and rain flooded low-lying areas around Mobile Bay. Widespread power outages lasting over a week in many communities. In Pensacola, storm surge flooded downtown Pensacola. Streets turned into rivers. 3 Mile Bridge, or the Pensacola Bay Bridge, severely damaged after barges broke loose, cutting off a major transportation link. In Escambia and Santa Rosa County, 2 to 3 feet of rain caused historic river flooding. Homes and businesses were both inundated by both surge and freshwater flooding. In the eastern panhandle near Navarre to Destin, heavy rainfall and surge caused localized flooding and coastal erosion. So comparing the impacts across the entire area, rainfall flooding was the biggest impact, record-breaking even. We had record-breaking totals across the entire Gulf Coast area. Wind damage, roofs were peeled back, trees were snapped, power lines were torn down at this point. Storm surge flooding combined with river flooding was what caused even worse damage, and infrastructure was crippled, roads closed, bridges damaged, and thousands were stranded. So the legacy of Hurricane Sally, at least 4 lives were lost in the U.S. Damage was estimated around over $7 billion. It is known for its extreme rainfall more than wind or surge, and it reminds the Gulf Coast residents that even a Category 2 storm can be catastrophic if they move slowly. So here are some damage pictures. This is taken in Daphne from Greg. This is an image of roof damage. This is from Tammy Hall as well, showing the trees that were ripped down. A trampoline was flipped upside down. You can even see some infrastructure underneath the tree. This is from Beth Higdon in Fairhope. This was a tree that looks to be completely uprooted and has gone over a house. You can see how tall it is with those kiddos standing right next to it. This is from Deborah Tillman of Gulf Shores. That pier is completely underwater. You can see the surge is pretty high at that point. So that is the overall damage of Hurricane Sally, to put it into perspective. Now, what is the biggest takeaway of comparing these two storms? Both of these storms caused extreme damage to our area, yet they are very different in strength. The important lesson is that no matter the category, a hurricane can bring devastating impacts. That's why it's critical to take every precaution to keep yourself, your family, friends, loved ones, and even your pets safe during times like this. So that is all I have. Like I mentioned, this is a great presentation to show you how a Category 2 storm, a lot of people just listen to the number, but you just saw what a Category 2 storm can do, and it is so fresh in a lot of our minds that we are all pretty well equipped to know what a Category 2 storm can do, especially if it's moving 2 to 3 miles per hour, comparing it to a major hurricane such as Ivan. Both had very big impacts in different ways. One was more in flooding, one was more in surge and wind. So this just gives you kind of an idea on why no matter what the storm level is, it's always important to take those extra precautions. Listen to your Fox 10 Storm Tracker team, your local officials, as well as the local NWS office, which for us is NWS Mobile/Pensacola, as well as the National Hurricane Center. Thank you so much for joining me on Next Weather. We'll see you tomorrow.